think this is. I love how it says start recording, but it never quite goes. And then, oh, now it is 1 second. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 11 of the No Views Show, and this is a BC Sunday edition with yours truly, a gentleman I quite admire, the meme king, at least in my world, Jameson Bucyk. How are you doing, my friend?
Well, not too bad. Feeling pretty good this morning. Glad to be here, I would say. It's not very often I get to platform myself, so this is great.
I feel a little bit like it's, for those who don't know, I'm going to immediately shout out your Instagram, which I believe is Jameson.whiskey. Is that the?
Yes, yeah, Jameson.whiskey, I believe.
Jameson.whiskey. If you guys are looking for applicable memes and not, it's not like you're on there every day giving the people what they need or what they want. You're carefully curating those memes, and I think people need to know, like, if you're looking for the local source, this is your guy. This is your guy.
Yeah, I got you covered. I pick and choose, and there's days where you get some pretty good meme dumps, and morality I feel is getting low with people around come Saturday, and next thing you know, you got some stuff to wake up to and have some chuckles. So that's what I like to keep going.
It has been the year of the meme. If there is one thing that has thrived more than it's ever thrived before, some of them are unbelievable. I just look at the words and the pictures and I'm like, this could almost be reality in 2020 sometimes. Yeah. Like the humor certainly isn't lost, but it's almost as if there's been a crossover from the humor into real life. That's what this year feels like.
No, I fully agree with you. And I would say especially right now, the memes with obviously the election and all that going on, the memes have been very good, I would say.
Huge quality right now. So much quality, so much content.
Yeah, I saw one last night from my buddy, and I'm kind of more of a in between. I don't really lean one way or the other, but I still had to laugh at this, and it said, electing Joe Biden as president is like shitting your pants and then changing your shirt. I just had to laugh just because of all the content people are coming up with right now. There's just, it's a lot of material, and obviously it's really polarized down there, but I'm just kind of sitting here with my popcorn, and just that's a good one. And, just having some laughs. And
I don't know what your election coverage was like, and I'm kind of the same. I feel like, and I'm not even afraid of labeling myself. I lean pretty heavily conservatively in general because I am kind of, I try and get your work done, try and, figure out a way to do it. But I also understand the systems in place that have created, the major wealth gap, two, created a lot of the polarization down there. I think I'm informed more than anything. And I've never paid attention to an election. Like, it was like sports. Like, I had 5 channels on previous, just no commercials, just bang, CNN, over to Fox. Let's see what the right's thinking about. MSNBC, a little bit back to left. Let's see what PBS is doing. Maybe they don't have, a leaning bias. And it was just, it was amazing. It was like, they told us exactly what was going to happen. You really only needed one intro. It was like, hey, we're not going to know until probably Friday. And sure enough, it was basically Saturday at that point. Yet I was plugged in all of Tuesday. Oh my goodness. Just let my brain get filled up with all the nonsense.
Yeah, just open up the cranium and just pour it in. Dump
it in.
It's funny you mentioned it's kind of like sports, because I saw what I saw cropping up a lot, every few hours was, the betting odds. Now the odds, Trump goes from, minus 400 to plus 600 in a matter of hours. And I can just see people out there just, they're online and they're just hit gamble, bet. Come on. I got a friend who I think he put money on Biden. So he was just hoping that would come through, and not a lot, but he goes, I'm up 40. So, but that's what it's felt like. It's not even. I mean, obviously people are focusing on the issues, and I mean, we're a couple of Canadians, as if we really care what anybody does with their politics down south. We're just happy to be here, but it was almost that. Like, I'm looking over at my dad. I'm like, well, what's DraftKings got? What's Biden at here halfway through the evening? Like, what are the live odds? What about Odds Shark? Odds Shark, they usually got it pretty dialed. So let's see where they're at right now.
Bet365. We're the prop bets. What do we got here? chances Trump has a winning speech before anything's decided. Ooh, minus 200. Probably going to happen.
Probably. Yeah. And sure enough, just got to make sure I cover the spread. That's all.
And I mean, speaking of sports, like once the World Series ended, and I absorb sports like more than I absorb anything. I even told my dad, I said, Well, if there's a time to have it, like I'll be tuning in because there's no baseball games on. There's no Tuesday night football games ever. So here we go. Like, come on down if you want and enjoy the show.
Yeah, that's kind of your team versus team for a while because yeah, for a while there was great. It was like everything was on. You could watch what was it, one point hockey, baseball, and football, a game all in the same
Yes,
day there, and it was
yes.
just like, yeah, this is awesome. It was nirvana for
Well, and it
us.
was all tournaments, like basically. I mean, and even football is the only sport where every game means so much, only having 16. So it
Right.
was insane watching, yeah, three sports almost simultaneously in the playoffs, plus the start of football season. It was like,
Mhm.
well, this is what it would look like if everything was decided in the span of 2 to 3 months instead of stretched out over a season.
Yeah, it was just it was a sprint. It felt like, which was awesome at the time, but then when it ended, it
It
kind of felt
hurts.
like yeah, felt like the addict coming down off the high. It was like, oh
Oh,
no, I need more. I need more. I'm not feeling so good about this now.
it was as if the sports world said, "We're going to give you like the three best tournaments of all time, straight up. We're put everybody in a bubble. There's going to be no home field advantage. We're going to get it done." But that's
Yeah,
exactly it. Like we're pulling that needle out of the arm come November.
yeah.
Like
Listen, guys, we know 2020 has sucked, so we're gonna give you one good ride on the crazy horse here. So we're just gonna hit the plunger and enjoy it while it lasts, and then once it's gone, you're gonna feel like you did before it happened. But
oh, I know, and
a crazy
that's
year.
almost the you know what? It's almost the sobering reminder of where we were, in April, May when things basically got outright canceled because people keep talking about, my mom will ask me all the time because I'm her NHL insider. She's like, "What's going to happen? When are they coming back?" I'm like, "Mom,
Hmm.
I have no idea." Like they're talking Canadian bubble. I think everybody realizes how much money it's going to be for any season to go. I've heard
Yeah.
nothing about games. Don't know what the players think. It's just we'll see. Just get ready for a long winter.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's hard to pin down because the information we're getting from public agencies and the pandemic situation, it's so volatile that I feel like it changes from you know some days it feels like it's hourly or it's minute to minute, and then you're just trying to get a grasp of what's going on. But it's slippery. It
It
eludes you
is.
pretty easily because I think we're heading into another 2 weeks of a kind of a lockdown situation here with no social gathering stuff, which no skin off my nose. You can go play Call of Duty and go to work and walk your dog and go for hikes and outdoors.
Yep.
What I've just trying to been doing to keep myself busy. But for people, I was walking in the neighboring community here, Langford, the other night. I walked by a Bin 4 Burger. It's called, really great burger place if you're ever in town. But it was packed. People
Really.
everywhere, no masks. Yeah, I'm just going. We're pretty good on the island right now, but it's good until it isn't, and then by the time you find out it isn't, well, people are already
That
walking
time
around there for
delay.
about a week without you knowing that you could have been sitting right next to someone. So
That's
that's
almost the issue though, is like and I mean our generation is we could have called this a million miles ago because we are if you're going to give us an inch, we're taking a mile. If you can
yeah.
tell an Albertan in the middle of summer that you're allowed to go to BC, hello Kelowna, we're all coming.
Yeah,
And it's like, oh, by the way, week and a half in, you guys are a hot spot. Oh, really? Really? Nobody was staying inside. Everybody was just partying, being on boats together, going to the clubs. Like, what do we think was going to happen?
yeah. What was
And
the worst thing
almost
that could happen?
exactly. And with you guys, like on the island, it's almost exactly that. It's brilliant until it's not, because the beauty of the island is the same thing that creates such a detriment. It's like, well, if there's an actual spread, there's nowhere to go. We're all on an island. Like, but the
Yeah.
beauty is if it doesn't come over here, we're on an island.
Mhm,
Nobody's,
yeah.
as long as people from Vancouver aren't going, well, I'm sick. I think I'm gonna go visit my aunt and Duncan. Let's go see
Exactly. Yeah.
how many
And
people we can mess up.
it's kind of like shut the ferries down. Just let's keep it where we're at. But
Essential goods only.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep all the necessities coming, but
Yeah, yeah.
foot traffic and visitors, and yeah, and I was just actually, I heard a news story the other day how I think it was on Thursday or Friday, the RCMP had to be called twice in one day to a ferry terminal because people refused to put on a mask, trying to board
Oh,
the ferry.
jeez.
And it's just, the people who still aren't on board, I don't really get it. I've had this discussion with other friends, and to me, a little cloth mask that you only have to wear when
Yes.
you're in public, you're in the grocery store, you're, in Walmart, wherever you are, or on a ferry, just while you're around other people, I don't see the big issue there. But,
Yes.
my buddy said, if they said, okay, here's a full body hazmat suit, and you look like Scuba Steve, walking around out there, he said, yeah, I would get it. I would get the outrage and I would get the pushback. But a little, cloth mask, and especially with, my dad being a doctor, he's just beside himself. He's like, what do they think we do all day, every day? Like, I'm always wearing masks. And he goes, look at me, people saying, oh, you're breathing CO2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And, all these like conspiracy theories around it. It's like, just put like, cause I'm thinking, look at New Zealand, look at some of these, Korea and some of these other Asian countries who are just nailing this, right? Like they know how to contact trace. They know how to isolate. They know, everyone gets on board right away with masks and social distancing. And, New Zealand, they're back to normal. Like they're just living normal lives. And then if they get a few cases or a little bit of a flare up, they go, okay, we're going to lock it down again for a week and I shouldn't say lock it down, but they're going to implement those measures again and just get on top of it. And then, you can go back to status quo, go have your drinks at the bar, your meals at restaurants, shopping, whatever you want to do, hang out with friends. But other places just can't seem to get that, especially our, brilliant neighbors to the south there.
Oh, I thought you were going to say to the west or east. I was ready. I was like, oh yeah. Kenny takes his time with everything. He's like, well, we'll monitor the data. It's like, okay, well, that's 3 straight days of record-breaking cases in Alberta and the major cities. Voted for you. Did do that. Didn't expect this. Kind of hoping you put your political beliefs aside and maybe just tell the people what to do for once.
Exactly. Yeah, it shouldn't be politicized, basically.
Well, that's exactly it, and I agree with you. It's like, here's how I see it, and I think this is what a lot of people miss, especially when I talk to people, because I agree with both sides, and then it becomes okay. Well, if you agree with both sides, you now have to decide what means more, where can we compromise, and it's exactly that. If you want me to wear a mask to the grocery store, on public transport, public places, I'm fine with that. I got all the time in the world for that. It's like you said, you just throw it on, you're in, you're out. But yes, at the same time, if you're going to make that my incentive as a human being and a person who votes with my time and votes with my wallet, I'm going to go out less. I'm going to spend less money. So if we do that en masse, I could understand the business owners, the people who are just getting their entry level jobs. When stimulus runs out, it's like, well, then what are we going to do? That I know, super grateful to be employed myself.
Right.
But so it's like, I understand both sides, or, even the conspiracy theory people or the people who are worried about, one of my favorites is, well, they're impinging or they're infringing upon our freedoms. One of my favorites. And what I often try and remind people, and this has nothing to do with being educated or anything else. It's like, every society, you will sign social contracts without ever grabbing a pen. You pay taxes, you abide by the laws. There will always be some sort of structure. The issue is we basically said, okay, glad you guys were happy with what we did, from birth up to 2019, but gonna have to hit pause on that. Not only hit pause, flip it so drastically, you're gonna question every social contract you ever signed. You're gonna question what freedom means to you, and you're gonna have to sit at home and stare at yourself in the mirror and just think about every decision you ever had. So I think people are just fed up because they're like, well, I'm fine, I'm okay. And it's like, yeah, you are, and you might be, and you even might get it, and you still might be. But unfortunately, we can't let everybody run wild, because the one thing we do know is it's a surefire way to spread this thing to everybody, and we just can't handle that. We've run the models, we've done the predictions. So just try and chill. It's all good. It's all good. We'll figure it out. We might not, but hey, and if we don't, we'll learn.
Exactly. It's adapting, right, to an emerging situation. I like how you did point out, that it is a social contract, and those, you boil those down. Even the simplest social contract is a stoplight. You're facing a red light, you're going to wait while the cars are allowed to go the other way, and that's just something it's agreed upon. So I think the thing is here is the shock of such a drastic change while you're in public with social distancing and limiting the number of occupants, and that contract isn't being offered, it's kind of being forced. But that's because of what we're dealing with here. We're not dealing with kind of something that will listen to our grievances or will listen to our political beliefs about it. It's a virus, and that's what they keep saying about Trump and stuff is you can't tag it in a tweet and it's going to go away, right?
Yes.
You can't just do what you like to do that way. And the other point I was going to bring up about that they like to kind of really hit on, especially the far right, is, well, and Donnie Boy himself, is Biden wants to lock the country down. He wants, you won't be able to go anywhere, do anything. When in reality, the way to, because that's where people are leaning, is either save more lives or save the economy, right?
Yes.
Whereas I feel like there is a middle ground, and what that looks like is just restaurants and retailers is just adapting. You have to maybe reduce the amount of people you can have eating in your restaurant at any given time or shopping at your store, but you can still do it. You just need to make sure that you've got mandatory masks in place, because now they've proven that greatly reduces the spread, and you just work on social distancing, and the two can coexist, and you can still allow the economy. It might run at a reduced rate and not be as profitable for people, but at least these businesses aren't dying, and people aren't struggling with high unemployment numbers. And there is a way to do it, but the problem with politicizing it is people just get way too one way or the other with it, and then it's way less effective in being able to function and exist.
And it is, and it's even interesting that you say that, and the coexistence, because if you go to these restaurants and you look around, you can see it's one of the only times, because of how easy it is to see what's going on, because everybody for the most part is being told to stay home. So if you just want to do a visual analysis, I find it's less hard. Because when I go to these places, say even a coffee shop or a restaurant, or let's say I'm picking something up for, I order Uber Eats and I go and pick it up. And you look around in the restaurant and you see, like, okay, older couple, probably live in the same household, not a big deal. Family over there, probably all from the same household. And then I look and it's like, oh, that looks like me and three of my friends, probably from a different household. And it's Friday night, and they're probably going to be going to 2 or 3 restaurants because they want to do something. Like, for example, this is a perfect example. So October was my birthday, and I got a gift card to Earl's from my uncle. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go use this. It'd be nice to go out. Haven't gone out a lot, and not even to just have some drinks. So I went with her sister and her roommate, and I was like, okay, I spend 90% of my time at home. Don't have a lot of extended contacts. We should be fine. So we sit down, right? You got to wear the mask, everything else. Half an hour later, this group of 8 youngins, they come rolling in, right? One chick's got the birthday girl pin on. And I'm like, I get it, because I know at that age what you want is that social experience. You want to be around your friends. You want to do these things. And especially if you were 17 last year and you're 18 this year. That's
a big one.
Tough titties. You're just, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait because, well, you can't go out to the bar. So sure enough, we're sitting at the table, and it's hilarious to me too, because they'll shut down the clubs, but they'll let a place like Earl's that has a lounge and bar stay open till 1 a.m. And it's like, well, just open up the bars and shut down the dance floor. Put up tables. We all know what's going on here. Yeah. So then sure enough, these 2 people came over and sat at our table. Turns out we knew them. So now I'm chatting with them. I said, and this kid's 19 and all of his friends are 18 and 19. I said, well, what's going on? Oh, it's, so-and-so's birthday. And this is what we do now. We're just celebrating it. I'm like, nice. 8 different households all hanging out together. And it's tough because I don't want to be there, be the old guy being like, hey, you guys should be home, as I'm sitting there having a drink with my sister and her roommate, really, Mr. Hypocrite? So you're out, but we can't be out. So I can understand the inconsistencies, and I can understand all sides. It's one of the few times where I can look at most people and say, yeah, I get it. Mm-hmm. But we were at such a level of comfort and quality of life before that we truly feel for the first time. And we're a generation, even the generation above us, that we haven't had any wars. We haven't had any civil unrest. We haven't been through anything that would create a national identity that is different from what we're used to, because things were going so well. And now it's like, okay, whether they're going better or worse, everything's different. And if you're not used to it by now, what is it, November? So the 11th month. So if you haven't been used to 7+ months of trying to adapt, one, let me try and help you, and that's the one big thing I did want to talk about with you today is you have to adapt. There's no other option. Yeah.
And, society only moves as the so these people who keep fighting it and resisting, and I'll do what I want, and I'll go out here and, I want to shop without a mask, and you can't make me do this. It's It's like, well, you're missing the whole point of this. Is if everyone just got on board, and again, I'm going to jump back to New Zealand and South Korea and all these other countries. You see what happens when everyone gets on board, and the longer these people hold out is just the longer they draw everything out for everyone else. And that's the unfortunate part, you know. And it reminds me of Jim Jeffries when he's talking about the kind of the hypothetical or, you know, metaphorical train. You know, we're all on the train, and, you know, I won't get too deep into it because he does kind of, you know, blast religion and stuff, and I'm not here to do that. But, you know, he's got all these different people in each cart, right? And kind of the scientists, the forward thinkers, the intellectuals, the, you know, the thinkers are all in that front. You know, they're up in the conductor seat, and they've got all these cars of us, different ones behind us, and the last car is full of, you know, and it's unfortunately it's a pretty big car full of the people who just don't get it. You know, they want to resist and do what only they want to do. And he says those guys in the front must be looking at that coupling pin at the back of their motor car and going, if we just pulled this pin, you know, do you know how fast we'd be going right now? We'd be flying. But no, we got it. We're slowed down. It's a lot of drag happening because people just, and you know, I don't know if it boils down to a lack of education, just, you know, the way they were brought up, you know, just this underlying theme of kind of being selfish. But it's like you said, things are different. Things are different. And whether you know, no one wants it to be this way.
Exactly.
No one really wants to have to deal with this. But this is one of the defining moments of our generation is a global pandemic. And no one chooses it. It just happens, and you just got to roll with the punches, right? Because
you can almost see the disbelief in that statement. Like, it's still, you know, the global pandemic. It still feels new, and I think that's like a big part of it for those people at the end of the cart. They keep thinking to themselves, "Well, tomorrow's got to be the day." Like they can't keep doing this forever. And then you get to this point where it's, whether it's woe is me or you feel like it's only happening to you. And I think the one thing, now that I kind of want to stay on this for a bit, selfish is it's the perfect word. And I talk about selfish and being selfish as much as I talk about anything else, because I think two things. One, I think selfish is one of the most underutilized words, because I think it's used almost exclusively in a negative connotation. And whether or not that's good or bad really has nothing to do with how I feel about it, except for the fact that I always talk about people needing to be selfish in a positive way. Like, you need to be able to take care of your own emotions, your own convictions, your own vices. You need to control at some point your own person before you can go and spread your ideas, spread your energy, spread your love to other people. Because if you don't, then without knowing for other people, you're going to be inconsistent. You're likely going to be hypocritical. Right. And if you're selfish, like the people in the back of the cart are, where whether you think about it or not, you think you're better than somebody else. And it's not because you say it like somebody like I would, where I would say, well, I can run faster than you. That's not selfish. That's cocky. Selfish is like, well, I can go to the bar because I'm healthy. I can do these things because I'm not going to get it. I'm going to, you know, avoid it. And I'm not going to be, you know, maybe they don't have any grandparents left, or they have limited family contact anyway, whatever the reasoning is. And then you just have to look at them and go, I get that. And I understand that. But do you want to be the guy or the girl that ends up literally like, well, you see your buddy and turns out you were positive. He saw him, then he went home for Thanksgiving. And it's a tough way to look at it, because it speaks to how hard it is to track this virus specifically anyway. But it's like, if you can't understand our side of that, then no, we're not even going to listen to you about trying to, you know, not stay indoors and trying to live life just as it was. Like, we can't do those things right now. We'd like to, like you said, we'd love to.
Yeah, no, if I could, you know, wave a magic wand and make it disappear, yeah, absolutely, I'd be doing that in a second. Yeah, that's what everyone's waiting for, is for Merlin to come by and make this virus go poof. But it does. I just, you know, and we're all learning about it, and from what I'm learning, it doesn't work like that, obviously. But, you know, going back to your exactly. Going back to the point of selfishness there, you wanted to touch on, is that is one of the most annoying things I see. And I've really had to just force myself to disengage from Instagram
Yes.
comment sections and
Yes.
stuff, is because it is a lot of just noise and people, kind of yelling at each other, and no one's really changing anyone's mind a lot of the time, I feel. But the thing I see is people go, well, I'm not worried about COVID-19 because I'm healthy and I'm not at risk, or the people that go, the death rate is 0.
Yeah.
Whatever, or 2% or
Yes.
1% or whatever it is, and it's going. You're missing the point though, right? It's because that's how you feel about it. But we're not. If you're young and healthy and you have a really good chance of this thing just being like a regular flu to you, great. That's great for you. But you got to think about the people who we're doing this for. Is,
Yes.
like you said, for the grandparents, for the older generation, for people who are at risk, immune compromised, maybe overweight even. Though
Yeah.
I've heard those folks are much harder chance of fighting the virus if your body is not in well conditioned. But those are the people who we're doing it for. So your selfish take of, well, I'm going to be fine, so forget about it. It just doesn't really fly with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I you hate to see it, but it's like that meme phrase, we live in a society. That's society. When you're trying to explain this kind of behavior, it's, well, we live in a society. And I don't think that kind of mentality is going to go anywhere quickly. But what I do like to see is, as opposed to the American version of the president coming out here and downplaying it, is when we have, like Dr. Bonnie Henry or Dr. Tam, and they come out and there's no sugarcoating it. It's just,
Yes.
these are the facts. This is what you need to do, and this is why, and this is how long this is probably going to take. It's going to be,
Yeah.
we'll be well into 2021, hopefully not pushing 2022 before we see widespread vaccines and really being able to, kick this thing to the curb. But
Yeah.
we're in, it's a battle, and we're in it for the long haul. So selfish attitudes are just gonna, they're just gonna cause more casualties on our side.
Yeah. And that's almost it. It's like it's unknown friendly fire, and people
Mm-hmm.
just widespread are okay with it. And I look at myself as that person, because if I just go and I think to these people, I'm like, you don't think I want to be selfish?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all I do is run and bike and stay in shape. There's no premium for being healthy. I
Yeah.
just do it because I want to. So yeah, I'm probably on the high end of, oh, the COVID's not going to have a chance in this temple.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't give me the right to be like, well, perfect. That's just gas to the floor. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. And
This is Alex Phillips' world, and we're all living in it. Here we go, baby.
yeah, I did my work, so if you didn't do yours, too bad there.
You know?
It's not fair for everyone. So, but and another thing to that is the thing that and my brother, who I live in the house with, he's not immune compromised, but he's been dealing with some ongoing health issues ever since he had a acute pancreatitis years ago. So he's pretty he's pretty scared about it to contract it, because he doesn't have full confidence that his body would handle it very well.
Mm-hmm.
But what what kind of, and I shouldn't say scares the wrong word, but what makes me a little worried about it is contracting it is, I'm not really that afraid it'll kill me, outright. And could happen. That is always on the table. It's in the cards. Yeah, God forbid. But what I'm more worried about are the long-term health effects that you might have.
Yes.
Because what we still, with something, a novel virus, is we don't have studies. We don't have these
year one
research. Exactly. We don't have the research to show, okay, so these are what the potential lifelong or however long effects you might see, because it attacks your lungs, it attacks your immune system. Apparently what I'm hearing is it makes your immune system overcompensate, and that actually becomes unhealthy. Is you're for whatever reason, the kind of just however the virus works, or just the way it is, it makes your immune system go into hyperdrive, and that can cause serious health issues. But it's the long-term effects, right? I don't want to have to be dealing with lung issues for the rest of my life because I was careless for however long and contracted this virus when I could have avoided it. Or these other, people are reporting symptoms where they're going, pins and needles, and that losing your sense of taste, sense of smell. Just, we don't really understand exactly what the ramifications fully are. So I'd rather just not find out. I'd rather, avoid it, be safe. and hopefully come out this thing on the other side, not ever having to be like, well, this was my experience with COVID, right?
Yeah.
I would rather just, hear from the unfortunate people who did
Yeah.
contract it and are now dealing with it. And, I'll learn from them, because this is one thing, that I don't want to run a trial on myself.
Well, and you bring up a few good points. And one of the things that I think probably speaks to what we didn't know about ourselves as a society before this was, well, how strung up are we on the short term? Because yeah, if this goes on, let's say 2 years flat, it just goes
Mhm.
March to March for whatever reason. Well, if the average age of, the average Canadian male is 82 years, and I told you, okay, at some point, especially for us, in this like 20s, 30s range where we seem to be the real issue,
Yeah.
is 2 years of your life. If that means the next, well, we'll take me for example. So 2 years from now, I'll be 28. It's like,
Mhm.
well, what if from 28 through 55, there's no other virus, there's no other pandemic we'll have to deal with? Like, would you be okay knowing you're on the right side of history, even if it wasn't that bad overall, or that, yeah, it's not the Spanish flu, it's not the Black Plague, but that's all we do as humans, is try and make society better, try and learn from these things. So it's such an easy thing to do, like wear a mask and stay socially distant. It sucks, don't get me wrong. I'd love to be
Yeah.
on the island, at your house doing this, or just
Yeah.
wherever. I get that. But so I wanted to ask you another thing, because we talked about this last time. I just saw you in person. And in terms of adaptation, what have you done? And I think people need to hear a lot more of these things, because I think people are struggling more than they ever have with their mental health. I think
Mhm.
tears have been November's theme,
Yeah.
as I've been joking with some of my family and friends, especially like we got 10 to 12 centimeters of snow here yesterday. It was wild. There was no snow throughout Edmonton, and I went and shoveled that high on every. So what have you been doing to keep kind of mentally in it and just adapting in general?
Well, I mean, I've kind of gone through a couple phases here. I mean, initially, and not here to promote drug use, but yeah, it was quite a bit of pot for sure. There was a lot of, local dispensaries around here, and just kind of, let's just go puffing away. But after a while, and now I'm about a few weeks to a month into my next phase or shift, is that wasn't sustainable,
Yeah.
and especially when you start to hear about how long this could be, is, I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, if I'm blazing a bunch and eating junk food and sitting around, like, I'm just going to decline,
Yeah.
physically, mentally, emotionally. So the new phase I'm in now, and I'm kind of spurred on by my father on this, because he's 63 now, and he's gone onto a serious health kick in the last few months, and he's lost over 30 pounds now.
Wow.
And how he's done it is daily exercise, changing his diet pretty dramatically to include, a salad with every dinner, lighter lunches, less junk food, less snacking late at night, all these sorts of things. So I'm getting on board with that. So now what I'm really into is daily walks with my dog, at least after work, for sure after work usually. And now I'm trying to do it in the morning as well. Get up at 6 a.m., 6:30, get an hour to an hour and a half walk in, come back, feel, kind of burn off a little bit of energy and stress,
Yeah.
and be ready for the workday. And then if the workday brings more stress and anxiety, go burn it off again out in the trails here. And I mean, I'm speaking from a place where I'm fortunate to be able to do that with, the weather and the climate we have out here. Although that being said, apparently our winter is going to be rough. We're supposed to get, it's going to be really wet, and then it's going to transition to more snow than they're used to seeing
Oh,
out
really?
here. Yeah, that's what my dad was just saying, is he saw a newscast about here about it. But so that's big, is the exercise is huge, I find. Healthier diet for sure, trying to get that. And now avoiding, I mean, as for years, that's
Yep.
just kind of the lifestyle shift I took years ago. But now I'm just trying to avoid, smoking pot, because just there's the other effects, right? And I'm feeling them now over the last week. It's been tough because sleeps are harder. My
Oh, I bet.
body,
I bet.
it's very vivid dreams, waking up at 4 a.m., not being able
Yeah.
to go to sleep. So then I get up and make coffee and get my day going, because that's what my body's telling me we're gonna do today. But I know that'll pass. You'll get through that, and I know that I'll be a lot more, tuned up and running efficiently and smoothly when I've got the daily exercise nailed down. My body's used to that. It's enjoying the healthier food. And I guess the last piece would just be reaching out. I
Huge.
find, a big thing with social relationships, whether it's friends, family, partners, probably not so much partners, is a lot of people are going, well, no one's talking to me. No one's reaching out to me. So, buzz off to them, or, they can go screw or whatever. And people kind of take it personally almost, and it can be easy to do. But the thing is, if you can change it into your mind, well, what if I reach out? What if I take the initiative, right? So I've been trying to do that a little more. And, when people post to Instagram, again, it's kind of it feels selfish. It's, people are just like, just look what I'm doing, and no one else wants to, have you ever put up a poll on, ever tried that?
No,
you'll be disappointed. Yeah.
I don't love it. I shouldn't say I haven't. I might have, but they're not my favorite.
No,
you know what? The one thing that just popped to mind, that this is why you and I feel like we should, at some point when God or whoever created us, they're like, hey, we're just gonna take 1% of your brain and put it in his brain, and 1% of your brain and put it in his brain. Instagram and all social media will do nothing but expose you, no matter what you do. It is the simple. Facebook, it's the equivalent of, I don't usually post, but well, guess who's gonna read it? Hey, nobody. But if you actually never post, and maybe every once in 8 months, it's like, oh, Jameson put up like a little piece. Let's go see what, is on his mind. Then you might go and read it. But the way I explained it to somebody once is I said, you don't think Instagram's the most selfish platform of all time? I said, go to anybody's wedding who just got married and go look at all the friends that showed up to their wedding. I can almost guarantee you the very first photo will be of them and their boyfriend or their girlfriend or whoever they went to the wedding with. Yeah. So even on one of the most special days of somebody else's life, and you as a friend are going there to support them, to see somebody get married, the very first photo on Instagram will still be of them. It won't be of you two, which in reality, or when they go to tell the story, like when you tell the story, you'd say, well, yeah, Jameson had this beautiful black pinstripe suit on, looked really good. His wife was, she had a bit of a shorter dress, real modern style, was nice and flowing. Like that's how you would tell the story. You would talk about the people who were at the wedding that got married. You would talk about the groomsmen. You would talk about the bridesmaids, the event, the venue, all of these things. And then maybe at some point you'd be like, yeah, and, Alex went with his mom and, this is what my mom wore. And here's the suit I wore. Here's a photo of us. But it's like, oh, congratulations to so-and-so for getting married. And here's me and my girlfriend at your wedding. Like, the hashtag, like meeting the Johnsons or whatever it is. And it's like, that's what we do. I tell people all the time, like, I like my own photos. Like you have to. Mm-hmm. But if you don't treat your social media with great care, you are almost going to become a slave to it. Like, and like you said, if you don't find a way to unplug, there was the same. My sister and I were talking about it. I was just over at her house the other night. She's kind of basically the main person I go and see in terms of, having that release. And every once in a while, every couple of weeks or so, we'll have a little Friday night and play some cards and have a couple of drinks and maybe smoke, like just unplug from the world. Mm-hmm. And we talk about it all the time. Like when that was going on in April, we were just getting banged up every night because we thought, this is nuts. Like and it was exactly what you said. That's not sustainable. I can't be getting like this level of high every time I get high and just trying to like wake up on Saturday morning and be like, oh yeah, this is fine. This is okay.
Yeah, I can function like this forever. It just, it doesn't really carry through for you, unfortunately. But yeah, it is like you said. It does seem like it's a selfish platform, and it's look how good my life is, right? And everyone. And one thing that really comes up is people are only putting their best moments on there. No one's posting. Yeah, no one's posting how, oh, I missed my mortgage payment, or this bad thing happened, or
just got fired.
Yeah, posting a selfie. Yeah, joining the unemployment line. Let's go.
It's served. Like
it's never like that. Or oh yeah, I just had some food poisoning last night, and I'm glued to the can today, sharing that with y'all
It's
because
gonna be out for 3 days.
exactly. And so, and I've kind of, just for fun, sometimes I'll put up a little poll. I think the last one I did, it was, I saw a pretty big snake while I was on the hike, and I took a picture of it, and I put cute or hell nah. And I probably had about 6 people respond, right? And it's kind of out of however many. I don't have a ton of followers, but maybe about 100 people saw it. And that's just the thing, is the mentality I find that's kind of developed is, well, no one responds or does anything to my stuff, so I'm not going to do it with their content.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I've tried to kind of flip that paradigm for myself and say, I'm going to start responding. If I think I see something and someone takes a really nice photo of scenery or post something that actually made me laugh or that I enjoyed for whatever reason, if I found it thought-provoking or interesting, I'm going to let them know that.
Yes.
Because I feel like if you just pay that forward, eventually if you just try to really promote that, it might start going around a little more, as opposed to everyone going, well, they're not doing it for me, so I'm not doing it for them, right? And I find even that kind of has changed my mentality
What's huge?
around social media. But I'm just gonna do a little plug here. I don't think we talked about it last time. I don't know if you've seen it, but The Social Dilemma on documentary on Netflix.
I have seen it now.
Man, I have never been so glued to the screen from the beginning to the end of a documentary, and sat there afterwards like,
Well,
it was.
and even the design of that, and I think this is just for me being as observant as I can be, the way they did it, and I thought what was brilliant, it was, well, there's how I see a few things. Like, you can do a Darkest Hour style where it's obviously not a documentary, because you're not interviewing people and like having the storyline. Like, it's a pure dramatization, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get the actors, you do same thing, Trial of the Chicago 7. So you get the information, but you also get, like, it's going to be entertaining. It's not just going to be a bunch of the lawyers and the people who are there, and kind of very factual. And then you get things like what was Game Changers, where it's all about, it's documentary style. Here's the journey this guy went on. Here's what we learned about the subject. Here's our final point. The beauty of The Social Dilemma was like, okay, we're going to lay it out for you in a way that there's going to be two things going on at once. We're going to have the documentary. So we're going to interview all the experts. We're going to tell you what's wrong with the system. But we're also going to troll you a little bit. And we're going to take an average American family and show you the differences between the age groups, the irony of the society. Like, when they had that commercial for the thing to lock your phone in the box.
Right. Yes. Right.
One of my first thoughts was, that is what we do. We are the Band-Aid culture. We create solutions to problems we've created. That's what we do. Instead of going, well, all I have to do is put it down or leave the house without it, or literally just, if I'm sitting on this chair here, I'll go plug it in over there. It's that simple. But instead, we're a society, finally, I can cure my addiction to my phone by buying a timer lock that will shut my phone out for as long as I feel comfortable. Like, we can't. The one thing I've talked about a lot in these podcasts is, the first time ever in our lives, you have to genuinely try and figure out what it is you enjoy. Simple. Yeah. Whether that's work, your extracurriculars, whatever it is. And I explained it to somebody the other day. I said, I hate being right for two reasons. One, I'm a sore winner. I said, but sometimes you're almost, when you see a macro trend and you're right and you don't want to be right, it's a tough place to be. The extreme example is like, who was it, Oppenheim, when he said, I am God. I'm going to butcher the quote in RDN. When he made the atom bomb, and he said,
yes. Yeah.
The Buddhist quote, I'm already going to forget it. You know what? There's no fact checkers. We don't even have a producer. So we'll get around to that on a different episode. But it's taking this, how can I word this in a way that will tie this point up nice and tidy? It's like, we have the tools, but we're so distracted that we can't just like unplug and go, okay, well, wait a second. Like, that's all I have to do is just be off my phone. And even, this is the point I really want to get to. Like, you talked about it, being proactive with reaching out is so huge, huge. Because one of the things I find, like, Facebook's a perfect example. When somebody will put, my inbox is always open, and I'm, you can reach out anytime you want, and the kettle's always on. versus somebody calling you out of the blue saying a Monday morning, and they just, they pick up, and let's say I call one of my cousins and they're like, hey, what's going on? Just be like, just want to check in, spot check, baby. Like, how you doing? You all right? Like, you pissed off? You mad? You good? Even just a 5-minute conversation, right? Like, just sending people little videos and things, tagging things. People go, oh, like one of the beauties is I had a buddy of mine over last week, and we were playing NHL 10 because that's where we're at in the video game world. Got to get a little update. I'm still on the PS3, but we'll get there.
You'll get there.
It's only because you're a bit of a gamer, so I let you know where my acumen is. I'm a smoke grenade kind of guy when it comes to COD. Absolute liability. Really fun to play with if you like arcades, but I'm terrible for the Team KD spread. Terrible.
I appreciate that insight.
Nova Gas tack mask. Huge fan if I'm playing in a lobby where nobody's running it. Then you throw it in some, like by the 5th game, somebody's like, is it really an asshole throwing Nova Gas right now? And one guy's got a tack mask on, and it's this guy.
Love to have that guy on the team. Hate to play against him. Hate to play against him.
It's like Brad Marchand. You're just like, this fucking guy. Hey, this guy. He waited too. He played 4 games without doing it. Catch his sleep and change his class. Sick.
Yeah. There's always got to be that agitator. There is one.
Sorry, go ahead. You go ahead.
Sorry. No, I didn't want to cut in, but I just wanted to help you out with that quote there. It is, now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Yes, it is. That's the social dilemma, right? The point in the social dilemma, thank you for bringing that up. And I figured you were on your phone, you're looking down. I was like, oh, I hope you're bringing up the quote.
I am,
Maybe you'll have to be my producer when we eventually get the in-home setup and everything, what have you. So that quote, and why I love that quote to bridge it over to the social dilemma and social media is, okay, Oppenheim had a goal as a scientist, but also he didn't want to make the bomb. He was the scientist. He was the guy saying, okay, well, I'll figure out the chemistry to get to your end goal. Well, who was seen as the evil, the powers at hand? The Americans and the Germans, they said, okay, well, one of us needs to create a nuke, and we see this as the great equalizer. And eventually Oppenheim got to a point where he went, fuck. I have created the most lethal, deadly, inhumane contraption of all time. There's no, whatever was before this, catapults, hot tar, bow and arrows, guns, airplanes, napalm, paled in comparison to this thing he just created. And it was only at that moment, well, maybe he probably saw it a little bit earlier. I'm sure he wasn't completely benevolent. And he thought, oh my goodness, I am, what is it? I am God, or I've become God.
Now I am God, the destroyer of worlds, or something to that effect.
So the point in the social dilemma, when that guy said, the issue is the AIs don't know the truth. They just know what they're trying to get at, which is your information and your time. And I thought that is the issue, is we're so easily led, and it's not even that we're trying to be deceived. It's almost, well, if you're just a part of an algorithm and a set of numbers, eventually you're going to reach that binary code or that combination where things are not okay, where you're starting to lean into, I asked my sister once, I said, do you think the world's more intolerant or less than it's ever been? This is probably 3 or 4 years ago. And she said, oh, it's less intolerant than it's ever been. I said, do you think that, or do you think it's a product of us seeing all the injustices in the world being brought into our living room? I said, because you have to understand, and I think what I said, I used 50 years ago, I picked basically women getting their voting rights, and it was kind of in the era of the Jim Crow laws trying to be abolished or what have you, And I said, Georgia, you have to understand, I love how I broke my only one house rule, don't sue people, but that's fine. It happens. And I told her, I said, people used to go to the washroom in different bathrooms. There's different entrances. Women used to not be able to vote. They weren't even, they were looked down upon for getting jobs. There's still a gender pay gap. I'm like, the world is way more tolerant than it's ever been, but it's become to a point where, yes, because you can see everything, you have access to everything, everybody has a voice. That's exactly it. They just take all this data and they go, well, what does Alex want to see? I've talked about it many times. My Instagram Explore page is F1, cycling, models, and fitness almost all day long. I asked my sister last time I saw her, I said, let me see your phone and just open up Instagram for me. And it was right after I saw the social dilemma. Hit the Explore page. And it was engagement rings, and it was also models and some, tea and goodies and crystals. And I was like, we're using the same app worlds apart.
Completely different
worlds apart,
reality there.
like
Yeah.
not even close.
Yeah.
This is where we're at, and we knew this. We already knew this. So what I explained to somebody the other day, I said, you will always voting with your wallet will always be a thing. It's the reason I think we could change the world tomorrow by if we genuinely as consumers invested and only bought things from genuinely green enterprises, enterprises that promote social justice or community, like values that we want to see at a ground level, the world will change tomorrow.
Right.
But we're still getting things shipped from Amazon because they're 30% cheaper if you get the Chinese version that's doesn't have a name brand versus maybe a name brand version. It's like, okay, well, 10 Tree might plant 10 trees, but they're still making shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Exactly.
still producing things. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can be as green as you'd like. Like it kills me when I see people, and now I'm just ranting at this point, but when I see people on social media who they give you all these great ideas, they tell you all these things, and then I see them driving a luxury vehicle that's fairly new, heading to their lake house or a party, and it's not even about the elite, because I do kind of rip on what could be seen as the elite. I mean, even if you look at potentially my family and extended line, you could say, well, you guys are close enough anyway, so you're bashing your own people. But when I see people, that's when I talk about like exposing yourself on social media. Don't tell me about how Black Lives Matter on Monday if you're getting hammered on Wednesday out at Wing Wednesday in the middle of a pandemic, because I want to believe you for both, and I want to get behind your causes. But I also want to know how invested you are in the causes, and it seems like you're not really that invested.
Exactly. Yeah. It's. Are you just screaming at everyone else about it, or are you actually changing your behaviors and your, what you're doing? Because that is the most, the other cultures of, or I should say, demographics from other cultures are the most hard hit. So if you really do, really, and that's great that you want to champion the Black Lives Matter movement and ideals, it's fantastic, but you do have to practice what you preach to really make it land. So,
yes.
But, just kind of not to jump around too much here, but when you did mention the kind of role playing they did in that documentary, where it's here's a family, here's what this looks like these days, is the other aspect that I found really interesting was the personification of the AI, with those three identical guys sitting in the room, and they're going, how are we going to get them back on the app? How are we going to get his attention? Oh, here's a photo his ex-girlfriend just posted. Oop, let's send that his way, right? That was really cool to see. This is, for people who don't maybe not be able to wrap their minds around the concept of AI and an evolving intelligence, is let's show you what this kind of, how it works at a very kind of in layman's terms. And so that really I found interesting. And the other really point that was driven home for me.
Can I jump in on the
absolutely,
on the people?
absolutely.
I thought about that. It's almost as if, like you said it perfectly, to get them to wrap their heads around it. But the other thing is too, for people to understand, these are the three little guys at the controls, and none of them care about your health, except one of them kind of has a conscience, but he never comes around.
Yeah.
For people to understand, as anxious as you can get about that idea, that moment, you take this thing and turn it off and put it away.
Mm-hmm.
Those people have no power. The second you delete Instagram, they have no power. So you can be as scared as you want about the AIs. It's okay. You're still in control. You're still in control if you want it.
If you want to be so, and that's just the case. And because, and kind of to that point too, is the other overarching message was, whales are worth more dead than they are alive. So we're trees. These are things we process, we manufacture, we harvest. Now we're being harvested. It's our attention. It's our time. We are the product. And when you really, that was like the light bulb that really turned on for me. And Tristan Harris, who was the kind of the founder of this, safe technology movement, that guy to me is he's kind of like a hero. He's a modern day hero, where he's had the morality and the ethical wrestling match with himself, and he's decided this is the best thing to do. And I think it's very commendable what he's done. And he was just on Bill Maher on this past Friday night. He was the opening guest, which as soon as I saw him, I audibly said, awesome. Like, I was stoked, because I love listening to the guy talk. He's so brilliant. and just the way he can phrase things and present things, it keeps my head nodding along, right?
Yes.
And it's going, oh yeah, and that's a great point, and that's, and everything, the way he kind of presents himself and his arguments and his points, very salient, very effective, I find. So that was one of the points he made sure to bring up, was we are the product now. And if you remember that might get you to put the phone down. That might get you to think about, what do these notifications mean? What is the decision I'm making every time that I open the app to see a new message or a new notification? Is that I'm being harvested, even know it, sort of thing. So, and there's other, and you just got to be able to, once you're conscious of that, that's half the battle.
It is.
And another thing, just to touch on video games again, that has been happening for years now, and governments and officials are just catching on to, is RNG, which is basically, it's random number generation that is for stuff like loot crates. So, for example, and one of the big ones that was in the news was for, I think, NBA 2K20 or 2K21. I've never played it personally, but what they've started to do is, if you're in career mode and you want to unlock new players, well, every time you win, and I'm just kind of guessing here, a game or a series, you get a new crate. And once you hit the button, up pops a new player you get to add to your team. Well, it's random. And it's all based on odds and statistics of, oh, can I get LeBron James, or can I get Steph Curry? Those are the kind of the ultimate goals. Everyone wants those kinds of players on their team. But what that really is, that RNG and these loot crates they're putting in games, it's gambling.
Yes.
And it's being proven now and pointed out that every time you get that roll, it's like a slot machine. You never know what you're going to get, and you
baby.
You get that reward when you hit, like, I got. Yeah, exactly.
The mystery box.
And the worst part about it is, people are gambling and becoming addicted to it without even knowing it. And when I say people, I mean like kids who are playing these games, and that's why they're cracking down.
Yes,
I know. And the reason I bring up NBA 2K20 was because it was in the news over in the UK. They were trying to outlaw it and make it say, you cannot do this. I mean, there's a difference between earning stuff in games through progress and
where you
time,
can buy the character,
or with your money, as or pay to win in Call of Duty with different guns you can get.
And but even like in the fake, like if you're in career mode, like, okay, if you win 3 seasons in a row, you're going to get a new signing bonus. You can invest it, say, in this, and then like actually teach them, hey, this is more how it works in the real world. You don't just get to eventually put a little bit in for a really small chance and hope. Like, build those reward pathways in the proper way. But even what you're saying about Tristan Harris was, it's almost like having a benevolent leader on the side of the blind. It's like, okay, we know what the companies are trying to do, the big data companies. And the other interesting point, when the person said, everybody thought Facebook and Instagram and Twitter was selling your data, yet that would be the last thing we would want to do, because we own all of the data. They're like, that's the issue. And I was like, oh my goodness, very small portion of every single one of us, because we signed up. But even to think, because now I'm really thinking about it, the only thing that pops up on my home screen is my text messages. And I have made a point ever since when push notifications first came on, I hit no. And I almost always hit no, because my thought was, and now I feel like I'm ahead of my time a little bit, was I only want to go to Snapchat if I feel like it. I only want to go to Instagram if I feel like it. I want to go to Facebook. I don't want somebody to have the power to bring me into it. Yeah. Like, if you send me a message or a direct message, sure, because that to me is just the same as a text if that's how you're using it. But even like, I have 3 Instagram accounts. I have my might as well plug them right now. Feeling good, which is the regular one. And that for me is that's the family scrapbook. That's the boring, here's what I'm up to, here's what's fun about my life, and then I leave it. And then I got my confident one, which is like, it's basically a passion project. It's all my athletics, things I'm keeping up with. It was supposed to be for all these charity races I was going to run this year before everything got canceled. Now I just use it to post fun things to do with athletics. And then my sister and I have one called Philip Noir, which is just Philip Black and French. as a joke because we always wanted to have a designer brand, but we figured we never would because none of us had fashion. So we turned it into like our everyday meme account, if you will. Like if she sees something funny or I see something funny, we used to just send it to each other. And then we created this account like, well, let's see if other people think these things are funny or not. Mm-hmm. And what happened the other day is under Feeling Good, it had like the number 9, like the red 9. It's like 9. And then I go and it's like 3 notifications on Philip Noir, 3 notifications on Feeling Good, 3 notifications on Confident. I was like, oh, I wonder what those are. And I go to them and they're just suggestions from Instagram. It's like, oh, you should follow this. You should see what these people are up to. And have you seen this page? And I thought those are not notifications. That's spam. That's junk mail. Like, don't make me click on the 9 because I don't engage with these. I only engage on what do I want to engage on. So it's like, if you really go hard and look at your phone, I even actually went through, there's a setting on all your apps where you can turn off tracking or something, but not location services like geocache. I don't know what it was. I went out, watched Social Dilemma, turned all of them off. It was like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't need that. Like, there's just these little things that you can do, and eventually you'll realize, like, we have the power as a general mass, but it requires, same thing with COVID, same thing and everything else, requires everybody kind of signing on just a little bit. But then I think about you and I, how many terms of service and agreements have we signed off in our entire life and read the first thing in capital letters and went, yeah, fuck that.
Except. I mean, I've probably already given away my firstborn without even knowing it. And, I've probably agreed to stuff that who knows, and South Park did a great episode on that where. Didn't they? They had a very good episode there. Yeah. And
so relevant still today.
It always is. Yeah. They always seem to hit the nail right on the head. But that's one thing I've still got to do is I made a note to do it, to turn off notifications, but then I didn't. And now I'm thinking, why didn't I do that? And that's you got to start having these thoughts and really kind of making sure you're self-aware and a little introspective as to what are they trying to do and how are they doing it, and am I allowing it to happen? Is it being effective? Because the phrase that popped into my head just now, and it will always ring true, and I can't see it ever changing, is money talks. Yes. And that's what these corporations want. That's what Instagram wants to do. That's what Facebook wants to do. They want your time and your attention so that they can,
find a way to monetize it.
Exactly. Find a way to monetize it. Monetize you. How are you going to make them money? Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's what kills me when people are like, oh my God, I couldn't believe what was going on. It's like, you couldn't? Really? How'd you think this movie was going to end? Like, everything's fine. No, guys, like, if you're not aware, if you're not conscious of these things, Coca-Cola still doesn't care about your health. 42 grams of sugar in a can. You think they care what's on your, like, what they're doing on Instagram? All they're trying to do is get you to click through, run through, get the promo code, whatever increases their bottom line. It's just changed with how they do it. People are like, well, no, the shareholders are more conscious. They might be. They might even be spending more on green technology than they ever have. But it's also because there's a record level of type 2 diabetes in the States where it's like, guys, again, we have the tools. Just think about it. Like, do just that little bit of research, and then you'll go, oh, yeah. Like I was just looking at my phone because I thought, okay, the other thing, so I don't let anything come to the home screen except for texts. My screen time comes once a week, but that's because I enjoy seeing. Other than that, the only thing that even has, like the little red numbers, like the notification numbers, App Store, mail, messages, phone. FaceTime, if you include FaceTime. That's it. It. No Instagram, New York Times, The Score, Strava, Polar, like everything else, or messenger notifications. That's the other one for Facebook. But again, I treat that as text. No Snapchat, no nothing. Like, I'm not going to be distracted or going to, you could send me 5 Snapchats in a row. And it's like, if it's 9:30 and I'm having breakfast and you're out on your walk, like, I'll get around to it when I get around to it. Like, cheers. Like, fear of missing out, which is, the old FOMO. It's heightened. It's certainly real. And do I fear for the generation below? Absolutely. But I don't know. Where do we go from here? Who knows? But I think we'll figure it out. And I think the people who want to figure it out will figure it out. And that's, I think, what gives me a great deal of hope.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's so important for people like Tristan to be out there and, putting that message out there to make sure here's the information you need to make effective change in your life. Do you want to absorb it? Do you want to utilize it? that's up to you. But
Yeah, or carry on.
Yeah, or just keep doing what you're doing,
Yeah,
and be willfully ignorant. And
exactly.
the kind of the parallel example it just made me think of was the people in the horror movie who go, "No, let's split up. Let's split up and look.
I hear a chainsaw. We should
how
walk toward it.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, I hear someone screaming. In the next room. I should probably go in there and send the other person the other way. Right? It's you're being a little too optimistic about what the real situation that's going on in, and you're just not really paying, not seeing the writing on the wall because you don't really want to, or you don't think it's that detrimental, but it really is. And if you get a chance, I would recommend watching that interview in whatever format or platform of Tristan there with Bill Maher, because it's funny. If you've ever watched Bill Maher, I watch him pretty religiously every week.
Yeah.
And he's good. He's funny. He's obviously, really good comedian, but you will notice he does kind of take the stage a lot because it is his show.
Oh, yeah.
But for a lot of these interviews, sometimes he'll really just kind of want to, well, this is what I want to say about this, right? With Tristan, he kind of just let him go. He was like, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about, and it's incredibly interesting. So I'm going to just pose
the expert.
Exactly. I'm going to pose a couple questions and let him just run, because that's really what people want to hear right now is what this guy has to say. So, because he did say nowadays people are they forgot what they enjoy. They forgot what they want to do, and because so sucked into the screen time and their phones and devices that he's like, people don't read anymore. People, they don't realize, that they're getting less and less of the stuff that really improved their quality of life. Instead of, now he said it's, especially, I can't imagine being in middle school right now, or high school, or junior high, or elementary even, and you're growing up with this social media. It's got to be crazy negative and impactful on their lives. And they talk about, I think in that documentary too, about rates of depression, suicide, self-harm. It's skyrocketing in the younger demographics, especially with unfortunately the female demographic, because the young girls, they're really tied into what do other people, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm pigeonholing them, because it's the same on the other end too, but even more so with that demographic.
Just to add a quick point, that I watched The Great Hack, and the same thing they said, and this is adversely affecting little girls again.
Yeah,
it's like, fuck.
Yeah, and because that's just the mentality of where you are at that point in life and your age is, what do other people think of me? How popular am I with other people? And so
which is natural, right?
It is absolutely not
exemplified. It's just like blown up at such a level, because I don't know if you remember, like when Louis C.K. talked about it, he said, he was like, the difference was when I was younger, and this was for years ago, however people want to feel about Louis, that's fine, but the guy's still brilliant. He basically said, when you and I used to get bullied in junior high or in elementary, we'd only get bullied at school. And not only if you did, if I looked at Jameson, I said, well, Jameson, you fat fuck. I could see that you would like be visibly, you don't care right now. You're an adult. You're like, whatever, bitch.
Whatever. Yeah, you rag on me for drinking tea, whatever. I'm drinking coffee right now too, by the way. There's coffee in this mug, so
that's hilarious. I got decaf, so how the turns have tabled.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, like, the difference is when you used to go home, that was it. You could at least be with your family. You could not think about it. And when you were mean to people in person, you saw them get visibly upset, and you would go, oh, I don't like that. Maybe I should do less of that. Like, that's not a sustainable practice. I shouldn't do that. He said, but the issue is now you go home and you have this device that invites the world into your living room. So if that bully who was chirping you at school can still get at you at home, that's an issue. And if you can send something, turn the phone over, never see a reaction, he's like, that's doubly an issue, because if that person takes it to heart, takes issue with it, you're not going to see that reaction. You're not going to see any of those things. And all you're doing is making this person more sad. And then I actually thought about, and I can't remember if I've told the story before, but I used to referee minor hockey. And this would have been at least 5 or 6 years ago now. Because I think 2013, maybe 14 was probably the last year I refed. And I was doing, these kids, I think were in Bantam. It's either Bantam or Midget, but I think it was Bantam. So Bantam puts you at about 14 years old, 15 years old, if I recall, potentially into 16, because Midget's kind of 16 and up. It's like high school is Midget. And it was very, very interesting because you can usually see the plays develop and you can see which players don't like each other. If these teams have played before. In minor hockey, you don't see as much of it because if Red Deer's playing with Tasquin, well, none of these kids see each other until they're on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids kind of kept going back and forth at it. And then eventually this one kid just it slashed his kid's ankle. So, arms up, like, we got this kid. He can't be doing that. Blow the whistle, 12, going to the box, 2 minutes for slashing. And then the coach calls me over. I'm like, all right, it's pretty obvious what happened, but I'll go chat with him. And he said, have you been watching these guys all night? I said, yeah, pretty intently. Like, they've been pretty chippy, but it's pretty blatant. Like, you can't be doing that. And he said to me, well, you should see what this kid said to him on Instagram. And I said, excuse me? He said, yeah, like the messages these two have. I said two things. I said, everything that happens inside this glass, that's all that matters to me.
That's your world.
That's the only thing I have control over. I said, secondly, maybe you should explain to these kids the effects of doing things like that and understand that that's not my issue. If anything, as a coach, that's your problem. Like, I was so almost insulted because I thought, first of all, I call the game as I see it. I don't know you. I don't know him. I'm impartial. That's what we do. But the second thing, like, as a person, I thought, do you not see anything wrong with that statement? Like, do you not see how weird that is for me? And then I even think about the other thing I just thought of. Grade 10. I remember downloading Snapchat, and my exact words to my buddy was, are people still using this? Yeah. Like, I don't have it downloaded today on my phone 10 years later.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was actually pretty ignorant, my opinion and my view on cyberbullying. When I'm hearing this and I'm hearing, oh, this kid, they were bullied online, I thought, well, how is that a thing? Just shut it off. But now now that I've gained more knowledge, thanks to that documentary and Tristan, is now I understand it more, because it's like a double-edged sword for these kids. It's like, I use this to feel good, but it's also the same thing to make me feel bad. And and they're addicted. That's the thing too. Is it's kind of like, another example would be that career drug user or alcoholic, where it's like, well, if it's impacting them negatively, why don't they just quit? Because they're addicted. It's no longer a choice. It's no longer a choice. So if kids are addicted to social media and it's a platform where they're getting bullied and it's impacting their mental health negatively, they might not even realize it, and there's nothing they can really do about it. So that's where I kind of changed my perception on that. Is it's not a choice. They're not lining up to take the beatings. They're there because they almost have to be at this point, because of how ingrained social media and everything has become in our lives and our culture. So my takeaway would be, unplug for a bit, do what you can to
learn how long a day is.
Learn how long a day is. And the other thing too is try it. Try to say, you know what, today I'm not going to look at X, Y, or Z. I'm going to, and watch yourself. Watch how long until in the back of your mind, or really record, how many times do I grab my phone and go, what's new? What do I have here? What's going on?
They have it now. They have pickups on your screen time report.
Oh, okay.
Pickups.
Okay.
And I'm like, I saw that and I thought, whoa, don't love that. Like 41 times a day, like that I pick it up for the first time. Time. Like, that's just, I ask people all the time about the screen time, and it's one of the biggest ones because, I kind of keep track of it. But I thought, like, just break everything down. If 3 hours of screen time is what you do, and then you go, okay, but 1 hour of that is, me reading the New York Times, checking some emails, like things that you find genuinely productive or positive to your day. Well, heck, that still leaves another 2 hours, which means 2 times 5. So during your week, that's 10 hours a week. That's 40 hours a month. That means you're spending an entire work week just zoned out or on social media or playing some, Clash of Clans, whatever it is. And it's like, okay, what are the things you truly enjoy? And if you do, if I told you, well, I'll give you 40 hours a month to work on it, then you go, well, fuck, maybe I can build a birdhouse. Like, maybe I can learn how to bake a tiramisu. Like, life doesn't seem as hard now because you can understand. And it's all going away. Like, budgeting's becoming harder because money, like, when was the last time you paid for something with cash?
Yeah.
I had a $5 bill that sat in my wallet for 3 months at the start of COVID. Yeah. And I kept thinking, well, nobody's going to take this. Nobody's going to take my dirty money. Like,
No, it's all now. Do you got tap? Can you tap? And
Yeah, we prefer
but
tap. We prefer tap.
we prefer it strongly, and by we prefer it, we mean if you don't have it, get out.
Yeah,
But
don't you pull out a fucking bill because I will
yeah,
shoot you on the scene. Anyway, pardon me.
and if you've got pocket change, I'm just gonna spray Lysol at you right now. Yeah, it really, another way I'd like to phrase it is
Hmm.
make your time work for you, not for them. Right?
Yes.
Make your time. You've only got so much of it, so try to make sure that you're doing things that you're consciously choosing to do and that are bringing you happiness and joy. So, jumping back to that question you posed about what are you doing to, work your way through the pandemic, and I found that yeah, it's time out, especially again given the fortunate situation I'm in where I can live on the island and go hiking and stuff, is to really try to soak in that natural
Yes.
beauty, that time out in nature. And I'm sure, you know, the dirty Burton rate me even in the back of my head screaming tree hugger, but it's those little things too, where if you just stand back and appreciate the little things, then it can make,
Perspective.
yeah, perspective. It
Yeah.
can make tremendous changes in your day-to-day life, how you see things, how you feel about things in your own situation. So
Yes.
it
Yes.
really, we gotta get back to the simple things, right? And especially right now when we're all trapped in this nightmarish scenario of not
Yeah.
being able to do what we want to do is,
The closest thing to an alternate reality.
yeah.
That's how drastically different it is.
Hmm, hmm.
Like the
Yeah,
one thing, just to add on to that point, pardon me for interrupting, but
nope, no
that I
problem.
think is brilliant. Like the thing I always think about is if I was to die tomorrow, say I wake up and there's a Russian sniper and somebody's got my number.
Hmm.
How happy are you with today, your recent life, and your life in general? Because if sometimes I'll be sitting on my phone for 2 or 3 hours and I go, okay, but you want to run a 10K under 40 minutes, let's say. How come this is like this? Is this beneficial? Is this what you want to do? Can I get outside? Can I conquer the cold? Like I'm gonna be making a banana bread because I've always wanted to make a banana bread. And I thought like do the things you genuinely enjoy for that exact reason, because you don't know when you might get diagnosed with something or you might
Yep.
lose a parent or like life's at some point is going to punch you in the mouth. It's
Yeah, exactly.
undeniable.
Yeah.
And if it isn't going to punch you in the mouth, it's going to punch the people around you in the mouth, the people you care about. Like it's
Hmm.
impossible to avoid the tragedy in life. So what can you do on a daily basis? Like you said, even if it's just those little things, even if it's just the ability, you know what, maybe I go to bed at 11 every day. Let's try 10. Let's see if I can get my phone off and myself in bed 10 o'clock done. Let's see if I can
Hmm.
do that. And then all of a sudden, yeah, you build these little feedback loops, you get a little more positive. And then all of a sudden you're sitting at home going, okay, I'm working from home. I certainly haven't made as much money as I did last year, but I've gone outside more this year. I've talked to more people that I haven't talked with. I've, whatever that thing is, and then you can go, oh, yeah, this isn't so bad. Like this is actually pretty all right. This is not a bad little existence, and
Hmm.
certainly if I can do these things, it's only going to get better from here.
It is what you make it, yeah, and that's certainly something the pandemic has shown us is everything is fine until it's not,
Yes.
and now I think, if you're trying to look at the glass half full or the silver linings here, is there will be some positives that will come out of this. Is we won't take for granted in the future being able to go wherever you want to go and meet
Yeah.
up, have a house party,
Right.
go to a bar and not have to worry about getting sick, and just, yeah, having those day-to-day social interactions that of course we took it for granted. It was just, that was life, it was normal.
Yeah.
But now we have a new normal, and I think that will change our lens, of how we view things, going forward, and whenever that may be, hopefully sooner than later. But I find it's just kind of like any other type of ongoing battle you're waging, is just take it day by day, do what you can to restock yourself and keep your side of the fight, head above water in the good, because yeah, you just gotta soldier on and do what you can to not only, I would say, help yourself, but help others too.
Yeah.
It's a good time to be compassionate and be empathetic.
Huge year for compassion.
Yeah, and I mean, I deal with it day in, day out at my job, working for Road Safety BC and the provincial government is hearing from people who are in dire straits, really, really tough situations going on out there. And it's very eye-opening and humbling to appreciate my situation. And that's also helped me kind of improve as an individual and just, kind of be a little more positive day to day. So my goal right now is, because I've been single for 7 years now. Any ladies watching? You ever find yourself on the island?
That's Jameson Bucyk.
Yeah, Jameson Bucyk. Slide into my DMs. It's been probably 7 years now since I've had a relationship. But my goal, I've been able to kind of build myself back up and get to the point where my goal by the end of the year is to go on a date. Now, a little bit difficult in the pandemic era,
Certainly.
but there is always options of meeting outdoors, keeping yourself socially distanced. If you're really that concerned about how close you'll be into contact, wear a mask while you're outside walking too. You can take those steps. So again, it's adapting there, right? But that's
his dog as well, ladies. By the way, just I'll let you know. Don't forget about Murph. So
Murphy, he's cute as can be. Yeah, he's a very affable, lovable little dog, and I post nonstop about him. So it's if you're into that sort of thing,
he needs a co-star lady.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's going on. Again, I've got those apps because my old man moment is dating apps, like this is what it is now, and I've never really used them. I think I had Tinder back in Edmonton for a while there, but I never did go on a date. I had a few matches, never talked to them.
Yeah.
So I've got Bumble. Probably shouldn't. I guess Tinder's a little bit of the less reputable one, but Bumble and Hinge.
Tinder's certainly the battleground.
Well, and that one's more for hookups, as opposed to, I guess, Bumble and Hinge are more for if you're looking for a relationship sort of thing.
Hinge is where it's at, because it's proactive.
Proactivity. But that being said, I should say I do know a couple people who have met their fiancés, husband, wives on Tinder. It does happen, but I've got the apps. They're on my phone. I've just never opened them. I've never created a profile. So part of where I kind of wanted to be somewhere physically, kind of my, how I look, and because it's funny when I talk to people about this, because they say, well, that doesn't really matter. It's more about your personality. And I go, yes, but no. And because face value at the very outset, it's all about your physical appearance. That's the first thing that determines whether or not they go this way or they go that way. They don't know what
nobody's reading your bio. Nobody's reading the article before they swipe. If you ain't hitting that first box.
Yeah, and usually the bio is something kind of hokey or a joke, like, I'll treat you like my baby toe and bang you on every piece of furniture in my house. It's nothing insightful.
Pistols,
double finger guns for you. It's never. So that is the jumping point. Is, am I physically attracted to that person? And then you go from there, because that is important in a relationship, I would say. You don't want to put all your eggs in that basket, but with these online dating apps, you have to start there, and then hope that the personality is as attractive to you as the appearance. And so the one piece of advice I got from a coworker who met his girlfriend, I think on Tinder just a few months ago here, was try to get an in-person meeting or date sooner than later.
Hilarious. That was going to be my point.
He said, he said, because, obviously people's real personality and their day-to-day self doesn't always come through over text.
Absolutely.
Or digital communication. So he goes, you might have to obviously give it a little time. You don't want to. And so we were joking, going, hey, my name's Jameson. How are you? How about we meet up in the woods tonight? Don't tell anyone you're going to be there. See you soon. He goes, you got to massage it in a little bit so you don't look like a serial killer or anything. A creep.
Are you free right now? What? I can see you.
I'm right outside your house. Let's go. You want to
from your photo.
I zoomed in there, and
I'm here.
Yeah, I've got access to the motor vehicle database, so I
Yeah.
saw the picture of your car and I ran your plate.
Do you
How
like
the
ice
hell?
cream? Do you
How the
hear the
hell are
music?
you? Yeah, yeah. You want to get in the van? Shouldn't joke about kidnapping or anything,
No,
but
no, no. But
uh,
that's sorry, and I should let you finish.
go
But
ahead.
that was going to be my only point. Is I did meet my last girlfriend on via Hinge, and we even had the discussion, a couple months in about that. She said like both of us weren't necessarily anti dating apps, but I said, well, here's what I did. The first time I got them, I was like 18, and
Mhm.
you're throwing yourself up there like you're a god, and you're just swipe city. Let's see what damage we can do or not. Let's talk to everybody we want to talk to. Like let's just numbers game, like brutal way to approach it.
Yeah.
Absolute boiler room. Like girls were like stocks and just treat it the same way. Let's see what we can do.
Mhm.
See what undervalued stock we can maybe purchase this week. So it's like it was a bad way to go about it, but a lot of people were on that. And then it flipped the second time, so deleted a bunch from same thing. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna focus on me. We'll be fine. And that's even how I met my first girlfriend. Was we both at the same time were kind of like, well, she even said it, and it was a very similar situation where you were in now. She's, well, I don't meet anybody, let alone a boyfriend, and it'd be nice to just even, yeah, like talk to guys, hang out with, and just see if there's somebody out there. And I was the same way. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to the gym enough. I'm not doing the things that I think a relationship will bring me. So I do all of those other things and see if the relationship comes. And it did. But again, we were in school, so it was fine.
Yeah.
So fast forward to this, I was like, well, man, I work at a downtown office. I don't really party like I used to do. I got a few social clubs, but I need to see if there's other people out there that maybe share the same, ideas or values. So what I did when I got my Hinge profiles, I went, okay, I'm going to put up like the first three photos, and maybe it'll just be minimum three photos, are all going to be about like things that are important in my life. So it's like, okay,
Mhm.
one's going to be with athletics and me doing something. One's going to be the family photo, and then the other one's just going to be like me in the middle of summer enjoying, a patio or like things I just enjoy to do. I said, okay, so we're gonna leave that there. They can judge me for that. And then they give you your options, right? Like of what you need to fill in. And I think on Hinge you have to at least, like, the minimum is you need to fill in three of those prompts. So one of them, I just flipped it on him. I said, well, I'm just going to turn this into a question for somebody else. And I said, well, if there's one point in time you could go back to, where would you go and why? Because people
Mhm.
always talk about memories and they talk about what they want to do. And I wanted to see, like, can you get past the, well, what's your favorite food? Do you like to swim? Do you enjoy the summer? Are you more of a winter person? Like, oh, beach or mountains, question mark. How about both? It's like, no, cool. Like that doesn't get me anything. So what I told her is I said, I strictly use it as a tool to meet you in person, which
Mhm.
sucks because you might have to go on 10 or 15 dates and realize you hate most people still, but
Yeah.
maybe by number 16, you're just blown away. So sure enough, like we ended up, our first date was 4 hours. Ended up at a coffee shop just chatting, and I was like, this is why I use it. It's
Mhm.
not so I can try and figure out who you are over text. I hate texting almost as much as I hate anything. I treat it like
Same.
email, and people
Yeah.
treat it like conversation, and they end up hating me. But that's
Mhm.
fine. Like I got read receipts on. If I read it, text me back. Like we're communicating. That's all.
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know if that's advice, but I just, when it flipped for me and how I treated it, it was like, oh, okay, this is exactly that. It's a tool, and nobody's going to care that the first time we talked was over this if our past 17 dates have been hikes and nice restaurants and drinking wine on the beach. Like, nobody's going to give a fuck.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I am glad you did say that because that's a great question. Yeah, if you could go back to anywhere you've been, where and why, that's awesome. It's thought provoking. It's different. Yeah. So
Just like
because
something, just for somebody to give me something that more than like the, well, 420 friendly, love Domino's. It's like, okay, but like, what else do you do?
exactly. Yeah. What else? Because at the same time you're selling yourself, right? And so
That's the worst part.
that's what
Yeah.
it comes down to. Yeah. That's what I mean, yeah. So to speak, that didn't quite translate properly, that thought, but
No,
um,
but it is though, because it's exactly that. Because when you start, it's like, how do I see me as other people see me? That's what I
mhm,
think so strange about it. And my buddy and I actually talked about this, where there should be like a friends Tinder and friends Bumble, where all the people who are in relationships, like what is the one thing that people look at when they go to buy products or services? Reviews from
yeah,
trusted sources. So it's like, okay,
very true.
it should almost be like, by the way, Jameson's account is run by Alexander, his brother, and his aunt. and you can talk to any three of these people and ask anything you want, so you can get the perspective from somebody else about him. So if say the person picked me, I'd be like, well, this guy's sense of humor is off the charts. Like, whether or not you think he's attractive up front, you'll talk to him for 10 minutes and you'll be in stitches at some point. Like, the guy's just got a delivery about him that's brilliant. Love his social media, likes to play some video games, I know that, but phenomenal conversationalist. And then that person would go, oh, like, that's awesome. I wouldn't have got that, because let's say it was flipped, right? And you're running my account. If you were to ask me these things, I said, well, I think I actually have a phenomenal sense of humor. I would consider myself a conversationalist and a bit of an intellect, and I do dabble in video games, but it's certainly not where I hang my hat. Then you'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, fuck that guy, right? Yeah. And I said, I was like, wouldn't it be great? And then same thing with their friends. It's like, okay, you get my best friend that, you know, has known me since childhood. Here's my roommate from college. You know what? And I put my grandpa on here because the guy's a savage, but he knows me better than anybody else. And then it's like, well, let me ask, like, you put your grandpa on here? What's grandpa got to say? And be like, touch my granddaughter and I'll kill you. But actually, she's got a lovely smile and a super nice personality. But then you get that little bit more, right? Where it's like, oh, like, these people are normals. Your grandpa's a beauty. Like, this is fine. But instead, it's exactly that. It's like, okay, I'm going to try and sell myself to you while you sell yourself to me. And we're going to see if this is even going to work to meet you in person. It's very strange. It's very strange.
It is an odd concept, but it's where we're at now. So I gotta get on board, right? And that was one of my biggest hangups was, I mean, again, I've been out of the dating game for 7 years now. So my, you know, flirting and everything, that's not very strong. And I just feel like I'd be at a loss there. Like, okay, we match. What do I say? You know, hey, how much does a polar bear weigh? Enough to break the ice? I'm Jameson. You know, like, I feel like I don't have it, but maybe I do, and I just don't even realize it. But what I'm going to try to do after you've brought that point up about that question is come up with more and better questions to ask to get.
Well, and you got to shoot. That's the key.
Yeah, like, and you gotta shoot, and you know, good old Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
it sucks because you do, like, you'll get 10 matches and 9 of those are just going to leave you on red, and one of them might give you the time of day, and then you got to go from there. But that's like, if there was another piece of advice, it's not only like the shooter shoot. You have to understand that there are women in the exact same position who are talking to their friends going, I don't want to go on fucking Tinder and have to go through half of these assholes, or Hinge or Bumble. They're sweating it out too. And I think, like, for me, that's when it flipped, is I was like, wait, there's probably like the female version of me on the other side going, oh, fuck, like, come on. But then eventually you'll have a laugh about it down the line, and you'll be like, man, you know how painful it was me setting up all, like, I'm glad you like me now, but do you know how much pain I went through for 2 weeks going, yeah, I ain't opening these. Like, fuck that. Oh, wait.
And it's definitely going to be, you know, you got to put yourself out there. And for me, that's kind of outside my comfort zone. So I just kind of got to take that leap a little bit, right? Yeah. And just kind of do it, because I would definitely classify myself as an extroverted introvert. Like, okay, yeah, I love hanging out. I love but I won't always push myself to do that. And that's another goal I have is to join, because I heard you mention, you know, social committees, social clubs. Yeah. I really need to invest more time in pursuing that, because my social connections out here are limited. I know, made some friends through work, some colleagues, a few family friends, but very limited compared to, and I had never moved anywhere. So it definitely is a bit of a shock to go to somewhere where it's like, oh, that comfortable, you know, social life I had, I just kind of left that behind. I mean, obviously you can still stay connected, but it's not the same when you can't just go, hey, let's go grab a burger, or let's go grab wings, or, you know, a drink or something with your pals. Unless I'm happen to be in town, which I try to do 2-3 times a year just to get back there and see some people. But you definitely got to put yourself out there more, and it's not something I'm used to. So it's something I'm kind of, I'm consciously trying to, but at the same time, I want to make sure that, you know, I've heard that old phrase is it's difficult, or you can't love someone else. I mean, I shouldn't say can't, is you have to love yourself before others might be able to love you, right? You have to be comfortable with where you're at, and then take that out into the world and present that to people. And that'll increase your odds. That'll make the chances of you finding a successful and beneficial relationship that much higher, because you've developed and built yourself up to where you're happy you are. now someone else will notice that. You've kind of worked out the kinks before, you made sure the car had brakes before you sold it, right? So that's where I'm at, is I'm slowly but trying to do it quickly, build myself up here.
Yeah.
That, like I said, physical exercise every day, trying to eat healthier, be a little more of a conversationalist by initiating that conversation.
Yeah.
Just because that's what it's going to take to get there. So just gotta do it, right? Just gotta step up to the plate.
Hard,
and yeah,
effort is the key.
Yeah, effort. It's got to be there, and it's not the best time. And I kind of was at first when the pandemic broke out. I thought, whew, great. Now I don't have to do this shit. I can just be like, oh no, man, sorry, wait. I can't. Yeah, I can't go on a date. It's COVID. So
Steve baby Ochich, oh wait.
Yeah. But now I'm a little more kind of, especially because you mentioned your birthday in October. I had a birthday in October as well, and it happened to be my 30th, which again, my milestone. Yeah. But like it was a milestone, and where I would have rather have been was in Vegas with some of my buddies.
Yep.
Tearing it up, but I was at home instead, probably watching a movie and eating. I think I ordered some food, and it was like, woo, big celebration. But
me and my brother at the keg, I was like, I would normally be going out, and here we are. We're just having dinner.
Yeah, very, very low key. And so, but you know what? That's something I just had to accept, and I just swallowed it and thought, whatever, save the celebration. But at the same time, it's like, all right, new decade. You just got to find that reason for a fresh start. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you gotta want it for sure, but you also gotta be able to look at all the factors that really impress upon you that, it's change always starts with square one is you, right? That's what it comes down to. It's the same for people who have ongoing issues or not seeking help or treatment. Is you can't help someone and nothing's going to change until they kind of decide that they're going to make that effort and take that first step, and then all that support and everything else can kick in afterwards and really propel you to the finish line. But you have to take the first step. So that's where I'm kind of at now, and it's going to be interesting. We'll see. But I'm going to see where it takes me and where it leads. But I think I kind of got to do it at this point. It's kind of like, I've put it off for so long. It's really
sometimes you got to jump off the diving board.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to put it into first gear and let's get it done. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm sure I've got people such as yourself who will help me along the way.
Baby. I am a hype train. I am an absolute hype train. I told somebody the other day, I said, I would actually probably hate to meet me in public sometimes. Like I can be very overwhelming, and when I really get comfortable, then I just go. Like I push the envelope as often as I can to see where people lie with their comfort levels. And there's so many people I've met that, even yourself included to an extent, although you were a much easier transition in terms of becoming very good friends. Like there was a guy at work, man, must have took us 2 months before we were like, wow, we're actually like really similar, aren't we? We just didn't get off on the right foot. And I mean, we call each other every couple of weeks now. Like it's so hard. It's so hard being the first person to message somebody on Facebook. It's hard saying hello to people you've never seen. Like I waited around once and asked this girl for her number when she was obviously older than me, but I was hoping it was only like a year. And she asked me when I asked, excuse me. And I was like, first of all, do you look familiar? Which is always a classic. Because they never do. You get to learn to be like, did you go to? And then, no, I didn't actually. Oh, what do you do? And then you just, it's cheap, but it's a beauty, especially when you're on your own. And she just said, how old are you? And I think I was like 23 or 24. I said, 23. She's like, I'm too old for you. I said, just, like how old? She said, 29. It's just not going to work. She's like, but I really appreciate like how you approach that. And like, you just went for it. I was like, it sucks, but here we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was like, but you have no idea how happy I will be knowing that like I just got outright rejected. Like you won't have to go home and think like, well, what if I would have said this or what if I would have done that? It's like, hey, you shot your shot, baby. Like, you know the odds are low, but you did it.
You still went for it. Yeah, you knew that you were probably gonna end up in the ditch a little bit there,
Yeah.
but you still hit the pavement. So, and
Yeah.
that's my biggest problem, right? Is it's a self-defeating attitude because it's like
Yeah.
they're not gonna look at you, they're not gonna find you attractive, so on and so forth, all that bullshit. But that's that's kind of where I've been at, and I'm trying to change that. Is you just got to do it. I guess to be really true to myself is I've been a little bit of afraid of rejection and failing at it, but
Yes.
you can't be afraid of that. You
No.
just got to
You
go
gotta
in knowing
embrace it.
this is going to happen 95% for the first few dates or interactions. Like you're not going to hit a home run at your first time up to bat.
Right. Exactly.
And
Exactly. Although
it's
you might, you never know.
you never know. Yeah, you do never know, but you just got to be realistic about
Yeah.
it and kind of hedge your expectations. But at the same time, you do still have to put that foot forward and take that leap. So
Well, and
yeah,
even like, when you look down, even the short term, right? You go, well, what if in a year or two from now, because I said hi to 50 girls or whatever, or I just, put myself out there. If that means in 2.5 years, it's me and my lovely girlfriend and my dog all sitting and watching TV.
mhm.
All right, maybe it is worth eating a shit sandwich to start today out.
Yeah,
And I mean, take it from a guy who makes cold calls. Like, first of all, people won't remember you even if they reject you. You have to take it off the chin and you have to carry on. Let me tell you. You
yeah,
could, you know what I said to somebody the other day? You could be the Pope calling somebody cold calling. Like, you could literally be calling a devout Roman Catholic and you could be the Pope and they would still hang up on you.
yeah.
Like, that is how hard it is.
That's the reality of it. Yeah,
You could be like, I
that's
have
the real
God
deal.
online too. And they'd be like, that's fine. I don't take calls. It's
Yeah,
okay.
we're like, all right then.
Yeah.
God bless you and have a good day. I guess. I
Hey,
mean,
God, Jameson's busy.
yeah, he doesn't want to talk to you.
You could
But
you could literally be selling water to a lake, and the lake just might be like, yeah, I'm not taking phone calls today.
yeah,
Okay, that's fine.
yeah. You just happen to hit it at the wrong time,
Yeah.
right? And the thing that is kind of even funnier about my situation is my buddies can't. They're like beside themselves. Like, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? Because especially on the island, I think the ratio of males to females, the odds are in my favor. I think it's
Oh, really?
like, yeah, it's like something like 65-35 or even
Let's
like
go.
closer to like 70-30. I don't know if it's that far along, but there's definitely a lot more women out here than there are men. So there's the dating pool for me is vast.
Yeah.
And if I get out there and I put myself out there, I'm going to be so a hot commodity, so to speak, because
Yeah. In
there's
demand, baby.
there's it depends, but good guys, and am I one of them? Hopefully, are few and far between sometimes. People who are genuine and actually care about others and are can foster and contribute and continue a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Don't come along that often. So if there's someone out there who sees that, I mean, it could happen right away too.
Yeah.
So that's another thing is I'm just thinking like you're really just shooting yourself in the foot because like
Yeah.
the odds are good. And I even know one of my colleagues she's actually my team lead. I think she's a year or two younger than me, but she was talking to another colleague, and this was back pre-pandemic in the office. And I'm not eavesdropping, but you can't help but hear them talk, right? And they're talking about relationships and dating. And my team lead goes, I'm starting to look off island. She goes, I feel like I've exhausted, there's only so many guys on this island, and there's all of them. I've run into so many dickheads that they're just like, they're sick of what's available here. So she's like, I'm looking at Vancouver. Like,
Yeah.
even though that's going to be a short distance, but a long distance
The
relationship,
task. Yeah.
that's now the next avenue, and that's their next choice. So I'm kind of like, yeah, just it's your odds are good is what I'm starting to tell myself. So just do it and see where it takes you, and put yourself outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I can't help but when I say that, I think there was a really funny meme, and it's a guy standing on kind of a circle, and there's like a circular tube around him of light, and that's the metaphorical comfort zone. He goes, I'm going to put myself outside my comfort zone. And you see him reach and he goes, this isn't so bad. And then it pans out and its fucking arm is hacked off at the elbow, right? You know? And it's kind of like, I can't way. You put yourself out there, it's not going to chop your arm off or hurt you. I mean, yes, you might face some disappointments, some hardships, but
100%.
at the end of the day, if you approach it properly, that could just build you up a little bit more and say, well, where may I have been lacking there? Where did I fail? Or to look at it differently is that just wasn't the right one. You know, maybe I saved myself what would turn out to be a negative or toxic relationship. Like if it didn't work out, there's all kinds of reasons, and it doesn't just have to do with I'm not good enough or I'm inadequate. So you really got to take the good with the bad and just kind of change your perspective or your lens on it. And hopefully that propels you forward to a lifetime of happiness. Who knows?
No, I mean, now that we're right into it, it feels like the first half was like the social dilemma, and the second half's like the dating game almost.
Yeah.
And it's not that I would particularly be a good case study, but it's even interesting too, like as you do progress through these things, because at one point I was getting just bitter because first of all, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Expect rejection. It's going to be, it's a commodity and there's tons of it especially in the online world. And then at one point, this girl put one of her favorite interests was Bravo, like the network. And I was like, what a trash network, in my opinion. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to lead with that. But I responded, I said, really? Bravo? Like the cable TV network? Question mark. Comes back, defends Bravo brilliantly. She's like, yeah, excuse me, but Real Housewives of Atlanta to Law and Order SVU and maybe back to Big Brother. She's like, Bravo is where it's at. And then I started laughing and I said, I'm more likely to know Johnny Bravo than Bravo the network and any of those shows. Like we're just chirping each other. Next thing you know, I was like, you know what? You seem like you got a great sense. I was like, you seem like you got a great sense of humor, and I actually appreciate how you defended Bravo. Like, let's go grab coffee. Sure enough, went on like 3 or 4 dates. It was like that was the approach. I could have been like, oh, what do you like? What do you what are your interests? Instead of I jumped on the Bravo thing. I was like, Bravo, really? Like I would in a regular conversation. All of a sudden, it was like, oh, wow, this worked. Like I even told my roommate, I said, oh, this chick's probably going to hate me. And then a couple hours later, I was like, yeah, I think we're going for coffee on Tuesday. He was like, what? He was like, how does that work? I said, turns out we have the same sense of humor. And she kind of understood where I was coming from on the first chirp.
Yeah.
And so in terms of that, like it is hard.
And I've got to really, because, I've been in a few relationships. My longest one was like 3.5 years there, back from when I was about 20 to 23, going on 24. But I've been friend zoned a lot for sure, especially in high school. As the term is now, I was a huge simp. I just couldn't get to the point where I was sexable or attractive to be wanting to be in a relationship. It was, this guy's really nice, let's just keep him right here. So that has definitely has shaped my reality in terms of, like you said, being a little bit bitter but
then you just got to change too. Sorry to interrupt. There's two things I want to say. One is hilarious. I always talk about you got to turn the friend zone into the end zone.
I like that.
That's the goal.
Like
big sports guy. But the second thing is you also realize, like, I had a few girls that they'd probably friend zoned me before I even had a chance in high school. Yeah. And I thought, okay, why is that the case? And then you look at it and you go, oh, well, fuck them. Like, that's fine. Like, if that's your guy's decision, I'm going to continue to be me. And then all of a sudden these girls are like, okay, wait a second. Maybe like you're actually kind of what I'm looking for. And then all of a sudden say, I'm going to be me no matter what. So you can label me friend zone or think you're not going to date me. If you end up being undeniable, all of a sudden, like it happens all the time where guys are like, well, yeah, we kind of started out as friends, but now we're married.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they, like you said, not just didn't accept being at that level of the relationship where it's like, you're just going to stay a friend. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep chipping away at the old block until you finally come around. And then it could be, like a fruitful relationship. But I have just trouble finding out, because I don't want to be a complete asshole, right? But because I'm always Mr. Nice, being almost overly nice. I got to find that line where it's like, where can I poke fun at you with the Bravo thing? Because that's a really good thread to pull on and really start to let things unravel and get things moving. So I'm really going to have to work on that, is don't just be, the softy and agree with everything they say, or
The
don't ever poke
chameleon.
fun. Yeah, exactly. Shift to the
I'll
environment and
just mirror what she's doing.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And I mean that's another thing too. That's kind of to try to change the topic a little bit from just straight up dating, and that is the psychology behind it is pretty interesting. How there's I've heard like kind of what you said, but it's like mimicking. So what you're supposed to do is if she folds her napkin right away, puts it in your lap, you do the same thing. If she kind of puts one elbow on the table and leans in a little bit, you do the same thing. If she, and it's not the best, but if she crosses her arms, you should cross her arms, even though that's a defensive posture. But it's kind of, for whatever reason, that mimicking, the psychology behind it is, I find this person more relatable all of a sudden, which is, again, it's weird, but that's something I'm just going to have to take all these tools and put it all together. And maybe yeah, we'll build some furniture. I don't know. Maybe not, but got to find out. It's either going to be a nice chair or firewood. So, but
I love
you
it.
don't
I
know.
love
You
it.
don't know until you're there.
Yeah. Well, this seems like an absolutely perfect spot. I don't know. I'm going to ask you now and put you on the spot. Have you listened to any of the previous shows?
I have not. No.
Perfect. Even
Yeah.
better. Because this is one of my favorite parts, and this is probably a perfect time to wrap it up. This is probably one of the first shows I haven't talked about why I started it or why this is important to me, this show.
Mm-hmm.
But the social aspect is, but I also have found one of the sentiments I've told people is the only difference between a rock star life and the life you're living is the characters inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had some nights where we could have been Motley Crue because we partied that hard. It's
Yeah.
like, what's the difference? Well, you're not partying with the band. You're partying with the three guys you brought with you, and you still had a great time. Maybe you
Yeah.
lost one and you found them in the morning, what have you. So one of the biggest reasons I wanted to start this was I thought, well, if people really are just everyday people, even at an elevated sense, then people are probably thinking about the same things I am or different things, but I just always want to know kind of what's on people's mind. So what I ask people is kind of the closing question, because it is all about the guests, is if there's one idea or thought or even lack thereof, and take as little or as much time as you'd like with this, what sentiment would you leave the world with right now with who you are and who you've become up until this point?
Oh, that's deep. We're diving deep, philosophical. I like it.
Take your time. I don't mind a little radio silence.
I mean, I feel like the pandemic is going to skew the answer no matter what, but it's look at the small things. Appreciate the small things. Try to look at the big picture, and just really, the takeaways don't have to be huge or life-changing all the time. It's kind of like an old phrase my dad would always say when it comes to finances and saving is, look after the pennies and the dollars will look after themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you take care of all the small stuff, the big stuff is just going to come together. So I would say, I guess if I had to boil it down to 2 words right now, here and now, is, sorry, not 2 words, 3 words. Pay it forward.
Nice.
That would have been embarrassing if I said 2 words, pay it forward, and they'd go, yeah, let's listen to this fucking guy. Can't count to 3, but hey, that's me sometimes. It feels like. Yeah.
You go third word, forward, pay it forward.
forward. I fucked it all up. But yeah, that's what I think, where that could be life changing to some people right now is if we all got on board with that. And again, that's an all-encompassing theme for most of what we talked about. It would change the pandemic situation. It would change people helping other people. It would change the political environment down in the States, where they're so pitted against each other. If you just paid forward some thoughts, kind thoughts, some courteous thoughts, it would just change things so dramatically. If you could just put yourself in someone else's shoes, or took a step back and thought, what is my perception, and is that really helping me and helping others, right? But if you just pay forward some thoughts or words of positivity, encouragement, help, I think it would really, really benefit us as individuals, as a society, and as a, a globe. Because, whether you like it or not, we're all in this together. We're all on the same ride here. So, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I still can't believe in the situation to the south there in the States is they seem to have lost sight of the fact that whether you're red or blue, or you're all Americans down there.
Yes.
You forgot that when it all boils down to it, you're still all Americans. Whether you agree on politics or religion or whatever, you're still all Americans. We're still all people, right? We're only human. And to try to expect others to be more than that is not realistic. So if you really just and take some time to kind of look at yourself a little bit, because that's another, if I feel kind of a character fault is everyone wants to critique and judge everyone else without putting themselves in their own limelight, right? Yeah. So that's something I'm kind of, again, working on and thinking through, but just pay it forward. It's the little things can go a long way, and you might find at first it's not, you're not seeing much returns for you, but eventually I think you will. It will pay dividends because, if you keep projecting that sense of support and positivity and happiness, you're going to start to buy into your own program, and you're going to start to see others return that to you, or it's going to present itself in some other way where you're going to look back and go, thank goodness I did that. Thank goodness I made that decision, because look where I am now. And had I not done that, had I not decided to take it upon myself to be the initiator in these, the living my life more positively, I never would have got here. Who knows where I'd be, probably not in as good a place as where I am now. So I think that's definitely, for all the people that aren't going to watch this on the No Views show, pay it forward, folks. Even you hear about it sometimes where someone will be in the drive-through and they'll say, hey, whatever that person, they got a coffee, whatever behind me, I got it this time. It's amazing how something like that can change someone's day, and who knows how further that, or how much further that change will go. Yeah. You gotta provide the spark. And once things can be sparked, they can catch fire, and then you might burn down the old, and it was something that wasn't the best it could be, and now you're gonna have growth from there. You're gonna redevelop either your image, your persona. I mean, you don't have to tear down all the walls and rebuild from scratch, but it might take those things that were holding you back, take a sledgehammer to that, and then the sky's the limit, right? So that would be my sentiment, is that's what I'm working on now, and we'll see where it takes me. But I think if we all tried to make that little bit of change, and to just, instead of looking at it as like, the orange clown Donald Trump who's all transactional, is what's in it for me. Yeah. Leave that aside for now and think, what can I do for others, right? Yeah. So, and if you start from there, it'll all come full circle, I think, and you'll be much better for it, and you'll be glad you did it. So that's, and for you to pay it forward and put me on this show and give me this opportunity, I thank you very much. And it's been great. It's always good catching up with you and, shooting the shit, seeing what's going on, and bouncing some stuff off each other. Cause like you said, similar sense of humor, pretty similar attitudes and perspectives. Yeah. So we always tend to generate some pretty good conversation, I find. And
I think so too.
It's always a treat, Mr. Phillip.
Hey, thanks for coming on. That was an absolute beauty of a show. Longest one yet, and probably one of my favorites. So appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. And if it gets you more than a handful of views, would be, my people can talk to your people, and maybe we can negotiate a future appearance. But
Absolutely.
That money's got to be right. That money's got to be right.
Pay it forward, but send those contracts, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I said, money talks, but no, just take that money that you're always trying to gather yourself and spread it around. Pay that forward, and we'll see where it takes us. Because world's getting crazy. A
Absolutely.
lot of stuff that seems overwhelming, and we just got to kind of get back to basics a little bit. Not try to sabotage ourselves, and let's just see if we can make the best of it, people.
I think so too. Well, it's a beautiful thing. Stick around post show here. Gonna hit stop recording, but thanks again.
All right, take care and stay safe, and we'll talk soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.